Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Everyday EDC. My name is Tyler, and today I have a review for you of the Spyderco Yojimbo 2 in 20 CV. Alright guys, this is the Spyderco Yojimbo 2. This is the 20 CV model. I believe this is a DLT Trading exclusive, although I could not find it on DLT Trading. I think that this was one of those models that Blade HQ will leave up their model so you can see it. I couldn't find this on DLT Trading. Anyways, Blade HQ had a model very similar, but it was a carbon fiber in 20 CV. And I just kind of used that for not the specs or anything like that, but to get a reference of some of the data on the designer, some of the thought process, the price, which is going to be a little bit more for the carbon fiber, and yeah. So jumping right into it, this is a very unique, once again, Spyderco Warncliffe hollow ground interesting blade. So you can see here there's a perfect landing zone for your thumb right there. It actually works great. And then if you wanted to do some draw cuts, this thing is stupid. You could put your finger there, you could choke up a little bit and go there. So this blade is absolutely fantastic, super narrow, super slicey, and it does have a little bit dainty of a tip that carries out, but it's not the worst. So this, like I said, is 20 CV. This is made in Golden, Colorado, and the designer is Michael Janich. So I didn't know too much about him, so I looked him up. I knew that he was a defense guy or like a defensive guy, martial arts, because this is one of the grips that allows you, it actually feels comfortable in this grip, almost more so comfortable than just the normal grip. Actually, it is more comfortable than the normal grip. This knife was basically built for self-defense, but we've adapted it into our normal lives as an awesome, awesome knife. So Michael Janich, he was an Army vet intelligence officer. He worked for the National Security Association, the Department of the Defense Intelligence Agency. He's been doing martial arts for 40 years. He's the founder of the martial blade concept, which is like a style of knife fighting. It's kind of like his own like karate version of karate, but it's not like karate. I'm just saying karate has like different things like it. This is like one of those knife fighting things that he developed this. He was the found like going over my notes real quick. Janich was actually, this is pretty interesting. The guy who designed this friggin' knife was one of 12 people picked to start teaching TSA members and officers how to defend themselves, right? Somebody's not going to go into the airport with a gun. They're going to go in with a knife. That's just how they do things. I mean, you're never going to get a gun on there unless I'm not going down that path, but you get what I'm saying. That was more common to worry about knives than it was guns. So he was brought in and he actually trained members of the TSA on how to defend themselves. Very, very cool staple, especially if you go all the way back to September 11th. It just, that's very cool and a super prideful notion for him, which actually makes me like this knife all that much more. He's found himself as the special projects coordinator for Spyderco. Go figure. Talk about a dude that's living the freaking dream. Just a little bit of background on him. I didn't know much about him, so I did some research. I thought you guys would find that interesting. Jumping back to the knife. Scales are a little dirty. I got to clean them off. But this is some like white pearlish color G10 with the peel ply texture. We have a compression lock right here, and it works just fine. We have not an over travel stop. We have a stop pin right there. Two very basic barrel spacers. And then if you go inside the knife, there's not much milling on let's see here. On the, it should be the lock bar side, but because it's a compression lock, it's on the other side. But on this side of the knife, there's a milling going through here. There's a milling because that's how we talk. There's my light. There's a milling. Who the hell says there's a milling? What the hell does that even mean? I'm trying to get you guys a visual here. I don't know if I'm going to be able to because these scales are... You can kind of see it right there. And the back side. There's like, it's like a rectangle milling pattern right there. Just one big piece to kind of eliminate some of the weight, because this is a fat stock knife. It has great action. Probably one of my favorites for the compression lock, because it's just so smooth, because that blade is just so damn heavy. Has no back and forth, no up and down, and the centering is perfect, and it still has that awesome, awesome action. The liners are recessed, and it's, if you look up here, the liners stop here. The compression lock comes out up here, but most of the liners stop right here. So the G10 is really developed around not only the compression lock, but really ergonomics. That's the whole idea of some of the actual extra G10, rather than just trying to mask it around the liners. This is a 4-way carry, ambidextrous. That's very cool. And we have, I believe, a T10 and some T8s. Let's do a hardware check here. What do I got? This is my Weha T10. So the pivot is a T10, and these are definitely T8s. Pocket clip screws are going to be T6. This isn't the standard pocket clip that comes with it. This is a, I think it's the MXG again. All right, guys. Let me make sure that I didn't miss anything from the notes. I did miss a couple things. So, easy there, killer. A, there is no lanyard hole on me. Very cool. No lanyard hole on this. I love to see, it's not that I hate the lanyard hole. Sometimes I like it. I can say sometimes I tolerate it, right? Sometimes you're like, it's okay. Other times it's annoying. And then sometimes it's really cool when they do that little lanyard post in the back. I think that's the coolest way to do a lanyard, and probably the easiest way to carry it. FYI, I don't know. It just like seems like it's the best. You're not having this lump come off. Anyways, no lanyard. Very, very cool. Second, this detent is actually really strong. It took me a while in the beginning. I don't know if I broke it in or my fingers are getting used to it, but it did take a while to get proficient with that detent. It took a little bit of force, but now we got it, and it's actually really fun to fidget with. Last but not least, this is writing on phosphor bronze, and the action is phenomenal for writing on phosphor bronze. And we have some scalloping coming down here. There's no real chamfering. The edges are knocked down just fine, but there's no real chamfering going around. We just have a little bit of scalloping right here, and all that is for ergonomics. There's no real reason for that. Maybe to access the Spidey hole a little bit more, but I don't know. I mean, it fits right in line with the Spidey hole. It fits right in line with the Spidey hole right here, but I don't know that I really need it, because I don't even touch the G10 when I'm going after it. So I don't know if that's necessary, but it may be necessary for some. All right, let's get you guys some specs, some size comparisons. I'll give you my overall thoughts. I will give you the outcome of this knife, because you guys always make fun of me because it's not a forever knife, or it is a forever knife, blah, 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 blah. All right, so the overall weight of this guy is coming in at a whopping 4.07 ounces. That's not too light. It does feel short and fat, and this definitely feels all of that weight. I can't help but feel like this thing does weigh a lot, and I think we're gonna find out why it feels like it weighs so much once we get to the blade. So I got a new measuring tool here that I'm gonna try to see if I can make it a little bit more friendly to see. All right, so this is coming in at just shy of 8 inches. The blade length is coming in at just shy of 3.5, and your cutting edge is coming in at right at 3 inches itself. All right, let's get you your this is the one I was looking for right here. So your blade stock thickness is coming in at 150 thousandths. Now that's a pretty thick stock for a short little knife like this, especially carrying G10. The weight's definitely carried in the blade, but when you go to the behind the edge thickness, let's see here, right at about 20 thousandths. So this thing, even though it starts off at 150 thousandths for the blade stock, it's coming in at 20 thousandths behind the edge. I mean, it's just, that's pretty remarkable. It's a very, very aggressive hollow grind. The overall width in your pocket's coming in right at about 450 thousandths, and the height at its tallest point, which seems to be right here, right at around 160 thousandths. So that's really, really comparable to your PM2s, Your Manix 2 is coming in a little bit thicker, and your PM3 is even thicker than this. So, you know, it's right in line with your Spydercos, which are large. But if you're a Spyderco guy, you're going to be like, yeah, that sounds about right. Here is your Rat Model 2 and your Rat Model 1. I prolonged that because I missed the first flip. As you can see, the Rat Model 1's a little bit longer, and your Rat Model 2's just a little bit shorter. Keep telling you guys I need to get a new chair. Every time I'm like getting new knives out, it sounds like this. Here's your Civivi Brazen in drop point. Freaking love that knife. And your Civivi Elementum in S35VN. As you can see, the Brazen's slightly shorter than this, but not by much. That tip just protrudes just maybe 1/8 of an inch longer. And obviously your Elementum's coming in at much shorter. Here is your Feldspar and your mini Feldspar. The Feldspar looks to be about the same as the Brazen. Actually, the Feldspar looks just about the same length as the Yojimbo 2, and your mini Feldspar is coming in at much shorter. Obviously, the carry profiles are way different, right? This is what they look like on top of each other. You can see, and that's even at an angle. So there's quite a bit more of the Yojimbo sticking out. Last but not least, we have your Spyderco sandwich. This is your Sage 2, Sage 5, and your PM2. As you can see, the PM2 is going to come in at slightly longer, and your Sage 5 is going to come in at slightly, quite a bit shorter, maybe about 1/4 to 1/2 of an inch. But this is going to be your heaviest of the three, by the way. This is definitely your heaviest of the three. So as a quick recap, this is, I'm going to call it the DLT trading exclusive. Not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it is with the white G10. So this is a 20 CV Yojimbo 2 with a very aggressive hollow grind and Warncliffe style blade here. This is a Michael Janich design made in Golden, Colorado. And the ergonomics are pretty damn good. Again, white G10 recessed liners. This is coming in on phosphor bronze, although it feels almost like bearings, but you only know it's not just because you can feel it kind of like the bearing action, or the phosphor bronze action. It doesn't feel like bearing action when you're there. And you can also take it apart and see the phosphor bronze. So this also has, like I said, recessed liners, barrel spacers. This pocket clip is not standard. It comes with a regular Spyderco clip, nothing to write home about. And it has a compression lock, which is probably one of the best features of this, and probably the best compression lock knife as far as action goes that I have felt. I think it's just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. So what are my likes? A, I really like the ergonomics, especially when you're draw cutting. I've draw cut with this, drawn cut with this when I'm like cutting some wood or something, actually making my setup that I have here. In my box that I have all my Forever knives in, I actually used this to cut the wood for it. And it was some really thin, cheap plywood style stuff. And I was originally starting with like my Wee Malice, right? Well, this thing's way better to cut that stuff with because you can really dig in with that tip and just draw. And that was great. What it's not great for, guys, and where my Malice really shined and this didn't, because I was using the 2, and it was kind of a really good comparison, right? I was push cutting through material with this, and this is not a good push cutting knife. The ergonomics when you're push cutting don't feel good, and I feel like the blade stock is so thick that it just gets caught up right there. It actually kind of hurt a little bit. Call me a wuss, don't care. That's just what I've experienced with this. And it actually, that moment right there, slightly turned me off. Not because like, oh, I can't do that, that's dumb. It's just like I thought this thing was overall the best. Like it felt so good. It was a knife that I had no intentions of getting rid of or trading or blah blah blah. And it just turned me off a little bit, to the point where if I was turned off, it could not be a forever knife. And it ended up, I actually have this traded. I have it traded for, I think, an American Blade Works MK1 or something like that. I forgot what it was. Somebody on Instagram reached out and was like, is that a 20 CV Yojimbo? And I'm like, yeah. He's like, you want it? So we ended up making a trade. What else do I like about it, though? The action is awesome. Absolutely awesome. And I really do like this blade for doing stuff like that. I know I'm kind of double backing on it. I don't want to sound like I'm ragging on it because this knife is fantastic. It's just like I said, I noticed the push cutting was a little bit of an issue. That's really all I have to say about this. FYI, if you put the brass scales on it, because they came with the brass scales, they're heavy as shit. Just absolutely obnoxiously heavy, kind of fun heavy. Like, it's like that stupid amount of heavy, but I think brass looks tacky. No offense to you brass lovers. I'm sure you guys think that some of the stuff that I like looks tacky. I just think brass looks tacky. So I ended up taking those off, putting the original G10 back on there. That is all I got for you guys today. This is the Spyderco Yojimbo 2 in 20 CV. I forgot to talk about the price real quick. The Blade HQ price for the carbon fiber Yojimbo 2 20 CV is coming in at like $227, which is telling me this knife was coming in originally probably around $210-ish. Take that with a grain of salt because I really couldn't find it. I didn't look that hard. I looked for like 10 minutes and got irritated. Just looked at the Blade HQ one for carbon fiber and figured they had to jack up the price because it's carbon fiber. Why not? And so this has to be landing somewhere around 200 to 210 when it was available. Do I think it's worth 200? I mean, 20 CV on something in that price range, you can never really go wrong. I think this knife is fantastic, and you're not going to be mad if this was your only knife. And by the way, I keep talking about this draw cut that it does. This thing is probably the best knife that I've ever used to draw cut with. Absolutely phenomenal. So while it suffers in the push cutting territory, the draw cutting abilities, oh, it's just so nice. And if you guys like that little bit of extra heft to feel like something's solid in your pocket, plus the strong detent, but not, you know, awful. I mean, you guys can see it's just fine. Yeah, you're gonna like this. My name is Tyler. This has been Everyday EDC. This is the Yojimbo 2 in 20 CV. You guys stay sharp, stay safe. Thank you so much for watching. Have a great day, guys. Hey guys, listed as my Patreon, my Instagram, and a special shout out to all the Patrons: John, Sammy, Eggs and Ham, Jason M, Dogtooth, Kaiba, Mickey, Wolf, and Captain Steve. Thank you guys so much for watching. My name is Tyler. This is Everyday EDC. You guys stay sharp, stay safe, and have a great freaking